Yes.
All right, hi, this is Damon Gang, and my wife is here holding the phone while I'm talking. We're going to be talking about Dan Wallace's article at his website, danielbwallace.com, 15 Myths About Bible Translation. There are going to be 3 points I'm going to go through here. The first point is the title of the article is 15 Myths About Bible Translation. But really, I think this article is directed towards King James only people. If you look, the first 2 items are not really focused on the King James Bible, although they do talk about word for word, and the King James Bible is supposed to be a word for word translation. And he does mention literal translation, and the King James Bible is supposed to be literal. But if you go further down in his article, you'll see the King James Version. The King James Version, you'll see the authorized revision of the KJV. The part we'll focus on is this one right here. And you see even the King James Bible's Bible in the middle. And KJV only crowd is mentioned here. And KJV added words or whatever. And at the end they stop talking about the KJV again. So at the beginning and the end, you don't see the word King James, but you see in the middle. So I think that's a little misleading. All right, so the part we're going to focus on is number 7. I'll read it to you. The Apocrypha are books found only in Roman Catholic Bibles. Although the Apocrypha, or what Catholics call the deuterocanonical books, are an intrinsic part of Roman Catholic translations of Scripture, a number of Protestant Bibles also include them. Even the King James Bible, a distinctly Protestant version, included the Apocrypha in every printing until the middle of the 19th century. False, that's not true. To be sure, the Apocryphal books were placed at the end of the Old Testament to set them apart, unlike in Roman Catholic Bibles, but they were nevertheless included. All right, now I will say Daniel Wallace is known to be involved in Bible translation. He's on staff at Dallas Theological Seminary. He was involved in the Net Bible, which has thousands of notes and about how the choices for translation in it. So Daniel Wallace is a name in Bible translation in modern versions. And if you notice, beside the fact that he's really doing an article about King James onlyism, in my opinion, you'll also see that when he talks about the Roman Catholic Bibles having the Apocrypha, number 7 here, he says even the King James Bible. By putting the word even at the front there, he's implying that the King James Bible is in some way similar to these other Roman Catholic Bibles in its use of the Apocrypha. But certainly as a seminary professor, he knows much better than that. Because if you consider, and let's go full screen, Luther's 95 Theses were nailed to a wall around 1517, and the Council of Trent in the mid-1500s of the Roman Catholic Church was a response to the Protestant Reformation. And what the Roman Catholics did at the Council of Trent is they adopted the Apocrypha as part of the canon. In other words, the Roman Catholics decided that the Apocrypha was to be respected like the rest of Scriptures, to be part of the Bible. And that was in response to the Protestant Reformation. The Council of Trent was in response to that. So do you think that the Protestants accepted the Apocrypha generally or rejected it? The Apocrypha supports Roman Catholic doctrine, by the way. So in fact, let me give you a little bit more in support of that. Okay? If you look at this article I wrote on Facebook, you will see that the King James Bible just mentions the Old Testament and New Testament, even though it did include the Apocrypha. So they didn't count it with the Apocrypha as being part of the Holy Bible. You see, they didn't list it up here. Then, not only that, if you look etymonline.com, etymonline.com, look up apocryphal there, and you'll see that it meant of doubtful authenticity. It also meant books of unknown authorship, which would mean that they're not accepted as scripture. Still not convinced? If you look in 1828, Webster's Dictionary, 1828.com, you can see it online. It's from the original 1828 dictionary. And you look up Apocrypha, you will see it's books whose authenticity as inspired writings is not admitted. Again, if you consider the Geneva Bible, in 1560, it said, neither yet serve to prove any point of Christian religion. So the Apocrypha doesn't prove any point of Christian religion, save in much as they had the consent of the other scriptures called canonical. So in other words, the Apocrypha is not canonical. So the Protestants in 1560 didn't consider it canonical. If you go to Article 6, Book of Common Prayer from 1662, regarding the Apocrypha, they say, but yet doth it not apply them to establish any doctrine. Well, the Bible establishes doctrine. All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine. So that tells you the Apocrypha is not counted as part of scripture. What else can we say? If you consider Bunyan, in his book, Grace Abounding to the Chief of Sinners, he was looking for an answer to a problem in the scriptures. And it turned out that he found the answer in the apocryphal books. And what did he say? He was surprised he found the answer there. He said he found his answer not in those texts we call holy and canonical. Holy, that's like holy scriptures. Canonical, that's not the accepted scriptures. So the Protestants did not consider the Apocrypha as being, and the King James Bible, I mean, some of the translators were in Geneva with the Reformers. The King James Bible did not accept, is not accepting the Apocrypha as part of the scriptures. All right, so that's a little misleading on the part of him. Now, the last part is, he says every printing until the middle of the 19th century. Well, that's patently false, because in 1681, they didn't use the Apocrypha. In 1762, in 1815, in 1840, these are just samples. For example, here, I'll show you in 1681, because this may cut off. I have a limited amount of data here. So you see there is no Apocrypha in the contents here in the 1681 King James Bible. And if you look in the middle, which is where they would usually put the Apocrypha, is right in the middle. You see it switches from Malachi, the end of the prophets, to the New Testament. So there's no Apocrypha in the 1681. These are pictures from those Bibles. If we go to 1762, let me back up if I'm going too fast. I apologize. All right. Right here, again, Dan Wallace said even the King James Bible, a distinctly Protestant version, included the Apocrypha. Well, we saw that the Apocrypha was not counted the same way by them. And it says in every printing until the middle of the 19th century. That's 1850. So he's saying up through 1850, every printing had the Apocrypha. And we just saw in, what was it? Let's see, hold on. We just saw in 1681 that there was no Apocrypha in there. So which means Dan Wallace was wrong. Now, if you go up again, let's see. This is 1762, which is before 1850. And Dan Wallace claims that this should have the Apocrypha in it, this King James Bible. And if we go and look here, full screen, There is no Apocrypha listed in the contents here. Goes right into the book of Genesis. You can see on the left along the side of the screen that there's no Apocrypha listed. And if we go to the middle where they would normally have the Apocrypha located in the King James Bibles, you will see that it ends in the prophets of Malachi, and then it goes to the New Testament. That's 1762. So now we see in the 17th century we got a Bible without the Apocrypha. In the 18th century we got a Bible without the Apocrypha. He said up to 1850 they all had the Apocrypha. Well, let's look at 1815, for example. 1815, you'll see here, again, there is no Apocrypha. You can see the 1815 right at the top. And look on the side, there's no, it goes right into